South African citizens may soon begin to feel the impact of political pressure on the economy as crisis looms in many sectors.
Now, this has prompted sovereign credit rating agencies, Standard & Poor's, to assign the economy a junk status. Now, the junk, coming with a BB rating, is a warning to investors that uncertainties lie ahead. The action of Standard & Poor's also has bearing to the declining value of the Rand. But of course, last week, President Jacob Zuma fired the finance minister after a long dispute within the cabinet.
Well, the action sparked demonstrations across the country.
All right, we have joining us via Skype an economist in South Africa, Jacques Botha. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, man.
All right, now the firing or sacking, if you like, of Pravin Gordhan, since the finance minister, along with 10 other cabinet members, it looks like this might just be the catalyst that will bring down the Rand even further.
Yes, it's interesting how the media almost and the comments have sort of covered Zuma now. If you look at the morning press, for example, in South Africa, it's already sort of almost getting close to business as normal in South Africa. The big turn, the big confidence, why the regime now has confidence again is they managed to come up with the declaration from the Commissioner of the Internal Revenue that they've made major record collections. They couldn't, at their deadline, when they had to give that the results of the recollections, they weren't ready. But now, after the Moody's S&P downgrade, they came with that statement yesterday, actually the day before yesterday. So that was a very positive for if markets believe that those numbers are true. Some markets are not sure because they doubt it. They're questioning why was it so late and why is it suddenly now conveniently coming through after Jacob Zuma's fired his Minister of Finance and the Deputy of Finance. So markets were very cautious about that. And now Moody's also, as you guys have spoken about, Moody's has put us on notice. So they've got 60 to 90 days to review. Now, it will not really be practical. The impact of the changes in Treasury will not be revealed in the economy over such a short period. So I think the markets could start becoming less negative about the value of the Rand. If you look at the Rand now, it's sort of trading, it has been trading at a weakening band, and we're watching that very carefully. Mm-hmm. And there is a chance that it could be breaking out and going into more, turn back to positive territory.
All right.
The crisis that seemed to be a crisis from a currency perspective is not so big anymore. There's a crisis, though, in the political scene.
All right, just to take you up on the Gordhan issue, the Rand fell 2% on Monday following the sacking of Pravin Gordhan, but then after the fall, it firmed that same day in the afternoon trading. What could possibly have caused this?
The rumors, those numbers were already done by SARS, the income tax people, and I think that the big one there was the rumors behind the scenes that the tax receipts were actually quite positive. So that means the Treasury is going to look good to the market. I would say that would be the main reason. And of course, maybe the market already knew that Moody's is going to put South Africa, not downgrade Moody's, but just put us on a watch, 60 to 90 day watch. That would be another reason. And then, of course, the other one is there is an incredible amount of funds sloshing around in the world looking for money. And South Africa is a very easy market to invest for bonds. And our interest rates, as you know, is quite sort of attractive for developed market investors. So I think and these people, they'll take a risk, they'll take their money, and they can always move out tomorrow again. And I think some people said, no, it's time to take the Rand. Getting to the Rand. And looking personally, I think the fall in the Rand is actually going to turn now again. There's just not enough momentum in this decline, the sharp decline in the Rand.
Okay, if I got you correctly, Jacques, you seem to be somewhat optimistic that what's going on is not enough, is not strong enough to actually dip the Rand even further. But don't you think the political crisis, of course, you have cause, increasing that Zuma should step down? Is this not likely to further complicate issues, both for the Rand and, of course, the economy?
The problem is if you follow, other than social media, for example, today, the two major business newspapers didn't talk about there's a major mass action plan for Friday. And South Africa is as a history of getting things done through mass actions. There's nothing in the newspapers, in the two, it's just almost a deathly silence, and sort of slight hints that the new, and talks about the SARS doing well. There is an interesting story, but is that the entourage, I'll just look, I don't know if you saw that. Gaba, the new minister, he walking with 28 staffers, where Gordon normally only had 9. So he's actually totally, all these people, all these loyalists and his previous department are now also being moved in. So there's already more than almost tripling of costs, just salary costs in Treasury, plus the old ones. So that just shows you the sort of the fiscal, and maybe gives you a clue. And unfortunately, Mr. Igaba doesn't have a good track record regarding that. But we should give him the benefit of the doubt, and that's what people say in South Africa now.
All right, Jacques. Jacques,
Yes.
maybe we can begin to understand and appreciate this better if you help us know the strongest influence on the South African currency, the Rand, these short-term stories or global capital inflows, the price of gold, and the U.S. Federal Reserve policy. What really is the strongest influence on the South African currency?
I would say the strongest influence is the fact that our bond rates are so high. Because we are approaching junk rate, the bond traders are getting a very good return. And they see this, and they don't see a collapse, an imminent collapse of the South African economy. Let's assume that this is now, let's assume, as many people say, this is now the increase. This was the only clean, or one of the few clean departments, some people say, in government. And let's say this is now becoming totally corrupt, and some people fear that the nuclear arms power stations will be built, money will be squandered, be moved around where nobody knows where it's going. Let's assume that happens. It wouldn't impact on economic growth immediately. It could be hidden in quite a while, but it will definitely, it will creep through the markets. Our cost of finance will go up. But we have, ironically, now this is the point, because of the weak Rand, our economy, because it is very much dependent on primary goods exports. So our commodity prices in rands have increased. That helped our balance of payments. So our iron ore, our PGMs, we're not such a big gold export anymore, but iron ore, especially PGM and coal, the value of our exports increased. That's helped us. Our tourism as well. This is a major growth factor in our economy, and it's a very cheap destination. And then we also have the bonus that South Africa is seen as a non-jihadi risk country. So even people will even rather go to South Africa than America, tourists. We find that. So we've been overcrowded by tourists.
Of course, Jacques, we hope it stays that way. Of course, with the latest onslaught on Russia recently, of course, we'll be talking about that later. Now, of course, South Africa is the most industrialized country in Africa. But you still have the challenges of advanced manufacturing that's still, somewhat low. It contributes only about 13% to the GDP. And infrastructure, there's a power problem, just like is the case in Nigeria. Now, how do you hope to shore up the Rand as it begins to respond to some of these lapses in the manufacturing sector and, of course, infrastructure?
You guys are making very good points here. One thing, let's go back. I just want to remind, we had a very bad agricultural year last year. Now we've had good rains other than one province, so we've got a major rebound in the agricultural sector, which is a big part of our export side. So that's also, and our GDP. So that's a major positive on our economy. So that's like a handout to Mr. Zuma. So it's tourism, agriculture, and mining a little bit. Mining is not doing as well as people think. The infrastructure definitely going to be slow. We're not going to get much investment, but that won't. So in the medium term, and once markets start realizing that could be not. I don't think the rand is going to be under pressure now because of the medium-term outlook. Sorry, there was another point you mentioned, which was also very valid. Why negative for us? What was that again? I've got so many things in my head now. A negative. What was the other negative you mentioned?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
There was another negative you mentioned.
Yes, as far as the issue of power is concerned, it's beginning to look really bad.
No, okay, can I get back there? We are actually not. Power is not, the power is looking bad now because the presidency wants to close some power stations, and there's strong expectation that he wants to build nuclear power stations. But actually the southern community electricity users yesterday for the first time had a surplus, the whole club had a surplus of electricity. We have too much electricity now. It's the old story. We built now too many power stations, and the renewable program, which was funded by and boosted by the World Bank program, have also come into. So although our risk here is actually it's our electricity utility ESCOM.
Okay.
Financial problems.
All right, got that. Got that, definitely. Now, the Rand was actually tipped to be 2016's comeback kid. I wonder if, 2016 is past. What's the outlook for 2017? Very quickly before we move on.
Well, it's such uncertain times now, but I would say for 2017, the Rand could actually start growing very slowly because there will just be good news. And the government is very good at controlling the news in this country. We don't really have a very free media. From that, So that's so the news will be good, but the reality, I think, and also we also have the benefits of if the global economy picks up, we're going to get more tourists, more imports, and even our manufacturing industry. The latest PMI survey is showing a little bit of an uptick. So the weak rand, we actually are a weak rand economy. So this weak rand, actually, this phase of weak rand will actually show some good results on exports.
Okay. All right, Jacques Botha.
I was actually going to take him up, except for time on Moody's and Standard & Poor's, what the activity has done, But we seem not to have all the time in the world. Thank you, Jacques Botha.
Yes, and Jacques Botha is an economist right there in South Africa.